Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have to make a request to everyone because since I'm sharing my screen, so I will not be able to see the messages. So in case I'm not audible anywhere at any point in during my presentation, or if something slides are not visible, so please do unmute yourself and speak up because I'll not be able to check the messages. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start now. So, good afternoon, everyone, once again. Today, I'm going to talk on the topic climate change and natural disasters. First of all, let's talk about what climate change is. Climate change is for sure a defining crisis of our times, and it is happening even more quickly than we feared. But what climate change actually is? Climate change is a huge change in the weather pattern of a particular place. That is due to natural reasons as well as due to human anthropogenic reasons and emissions specifically of the greenhouse gases. So whenever before understanding what climate change is, let us first know what is climate, because most of the times you're not aware of what climate actually is. So climate and weather, there is slight difference between the two. Weather patterns, weather is a short-term phenomenon and it can change from day to day basis, and in a single day also we can see various weather patterns, like sometimes it may rain, sometimes it might start you might have a clear sunny day, or sometimes you may have a overcast day. But climate, which is a long term phenomenon, it is determined by a 30-year average weather of a particular place. So changes in weather will not harm us, but changes in climate is going to harm us in the long run, because 30-year average weather of a particular place determines its climate, and the biodiversity which is living there is adapted over the time due to the environmental conditions prevailing there. So any change in the climate is going to cause a widespread extinction of species as well. Okay, so that's why we are worried about climate change. So climate change is definitely a defining crisis. And let me tell you, no corner of this globe is immune from the devastating consequences of climate change. Like many world leaders have said in the recent past, that climate change is a hoax. No, climate change is not a hoax. It is right here, right in front of our eyes, and we are experiencing it. So in today's lecture, we will be discussing that, and you will get to know about the consequences and the events that are happening right now, that we are experiencing. All people around the globe are experiencing the brunt of the climate change, and that is mostly human driven. So the major reasons why the climate change is occurring, the climate change, as we know, is an outcome of global warming. So global warming, and global warming is what? Global warming is caused by enhanced greenhouse effect, which is caused by the excessive concentration of the greenhouse gases. And currently, anthropogenic greenhouse gases emissions through various sources like burning of fossil fuels are at a record high, and there are no signs of slowing down. The last 4 years were the hottest 4 years on record. And according to a September 2019 World Meteorological Organization report, we are at least 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre industrial levels, and close to what scientists would have warned an unacceptable risk. Why I'm talking about an unacceptable risk and what is it, that you will get to know. in the next point, that in 2015 Paris Agreement that held on climate change, it calls for holding the eventual warming well below 2 degrees Celsius. And to be on the safer side, we decided to keep this warming well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And guys, right now we have reached 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels of the average temperatures. That is going to cost us a lot in the long run. Because if we do not slow down the global emissions of the greenhouse gases right now, temperatures could rise to above 3 degrees Celsius by 2100. We haven't even thought about of the consequences that we are going to see when the temperature is going to reach above 3 degrees Celsius. I'll just show you. Okay, as the one of the major greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide. And why are we worried about it? Because we know carbon dioxide, the contribution of carbon dioxide in currently causing the global warming is around 60%. And in this graph, the concentration of carbon dioxide has been plotted along with the temperature increase, right, from 1959 to 2014. So as you can see here, this is it has shown the concentration of carbon dioxide in ppm, and the average temperature has shown a direct relation with each other. That means they are showing synergistic effects. That concentration of carbon dioxide are directly increasing the average global temperature. From 1880 to 2012, the average global temperatures increased by 0.85 degrees Celsius. But just in the last decade, it has reached from 0.85 degrees Celsius to 1.1. Despite all the efforts by all the governments of the Paris Agreement, we are far behind our goal. And as a result of it, the oceans have warmed. The amount of snow and ice which is present on Earth, which is the only source of, which is the biggest source of the fresh water that we have with us, have diminished. And this has resulted into the rising sea levels. From 1901 to 2010, the global average sea level has risen by 19 centimeters as the oceans have expanded. The Arctic sea ice extent has shrunk in every successive decade since 1979. And top of it, global carbon dioxide emissions have increased by almost 50% since 1990. Emissions of various greenhouse gases have grew more quickly between 2000 and 2010 than in each of the three previous decades. That means, guys, we are saying that yes, we are making our efforts at the global level, or various protocols are in place, various conference of parties are being organized, from time to time, but we are way behind. We are much behind of what should be our goal in containing the climate change, because we are not serious about it. Yes, these climatic patterns are actually fueling the environmental degradation, natural disasters. They are also fueling the extreme weather patterns, which is finally causing food and water insecurities. And finally, it is resulting into the economic disruption. Guys, ocean water is getting warmer every year. And according to the latest IPCC report, the Indian Ocean is getting warmer at a much faster rate as compared to the other oceans. And this warming of water leads to the bleaching of corals. And oceans are acidifying because of increased carbon dioxide concentration, which is causing the death of corals. The forests are burning. Just look around you. While we are talking in this, while we are sitting here in this lecture, there are n number of environmental hazards that are going on around the world. and which are being fueled by climate change. We are just going to discuss. So now, as the UN Secretary General on Antonio Guterres said, climate emergency is a race we are losing, but it is a race we can win. So we will have to make a collective efforts as the infinite cost of climate change reaches irreversible high. Now is the time to take bold collective actions towards it. And this course, organized by us, is one such collective effort to towards spreading the awareness or equipping you people with the knowledge base, with the skills, attitudes to act as the agents of change. So in today's lecture, I will be focusing about the natural disasters in particular because we know there are huge impacts of climate change. So we will not be covering everything today. Today we are causing about those natural disasters which are being fueled fiercely by the climate change and which are causing huge loss of life and property on earth. Why we will be talking about it? Because guys, these natural disasters are becoming one of the major reasons for loss of homes and play and loss of occupations for many people around the world. Do you know, as of 2016, on an average, 26 million people were displaced by disasters like floods, storms every year. That means every second, one person is displaced by disasters. Just think about it. How big this number is. In 2018, 17.2 million people fled disasters in 125 countries and territories. And over the last 2 decades, 7,348 major disaster events were recorded globally, claiming 1.23 million lives and affecting 4.2 billion people. And on top of it, it has cost $2.97 trillion economic losses. That is huge. That is huge. So now is the time we will have to act, because if it is too late, as the report of Center for Research on Epidemiology of Disasters, Belgium said, it is stated that if this level of growth in extreme weather events continues over the next 20 years, the future of mankind looks very bleak indeed. Why we are talking about this? Because the climate change is fueling the extreme climatic events like droughts, floods, cyclones, wildfires, extreme temperature events that are causing the major damage. We have many stories to talk about, but like when we talk about the climate change, or as we know that climate change, the major cause for the climate change is global warming. So let's talk about global warming first. So guys, as we know that whenever we hear the term climate change doesn't only, first thing that comes to our mind is when we talk about global warming or climate change is increase in the average temperature. Yes, it is there. So, but it can be, it is not the extremes of weather patterns are going to increase. It's not only the increase in temperature, but whenever we hear about it, we know that yes, global warming means increase in the temperature patterns or extremes of temperature. So first of all, the biggest event or the most common, we will call it as disaster, or most common climatic event that has occurred in the past few years, and as has been predicted by the latest report of IPCC, the most common climatic events are going to be heat waves and droughts around the countries all over the world. Now guys, as we know that heat waves are naturally occurring events, in specifically in summers we experience heat wave, but climate change is exacerbating these events because of the increased emission of the heat trapping greenhouse gases, which are causing average temperatures to increase. According to the latest report by IPCC, heat waves are going to be our biggest challenge in the next 10 years, especially in the poor countries. Heat waves are going to affect the the poor specifically, that we see in India also. It affects the poor. Severe heat waves that previously occurred once every 50 years will now likely to happen once per decade. That is a huge data, and that is happening. Like last year, guys, last year was the world's hottest September on record, with unusually high temperatures recorded off Siberia, Middle East, in US, Canada, South America, Australia, everywhere, according to European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service. The World Met Organization said in July that global temperatures will continue to warm over the next 5 years and may even temporarily rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. So why I'm again and again talking about 1.5 degrees Celsius? Because guys, during the climate, as we have talked in the Paris Agreement, we have decided to keep the warming well below 2 degrees Celsius as compared to the pre-industrial levels. But the recent data and the recent patterns are showing that we are going to reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature as the ceiling of avoiding catastrophic climate change very soon in the next 5 years. In a summer, this time, in a summer which was already full of extremes of temperatures, it's the heat waves that roasted a lot of people worldwide. Hundreds and millions of people across the world, guys, are there that are confirming a grim climate prophecy by the experts. Sizzling temperatures were recorded in the United States and in Canada. Persistent heat waves have been found in the Europe. Europe. So let's talk about this year, July only. Guys, this year, July has seen, it has been said that July was the hottest month on record since the record keeping have been begun in 142 years ago. It has been said that said according to the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration that I'm just showing you this graph. Just look at the screen. This graph is showing the selected significant climate anomalies and events that occurred in July 2021. It's
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes.
We are not able to see the graph.
So it's not a graph, it's a map. Can you see it
Oh, okay,
on
ma'am.
the screen?
Yes, ma'am. The map is
Yeah.
visible.
So this map is showing. So this map is showing the various places on Earth which have recorded the hottest July in a long time. Like in Asia, as we see in Asia, it was the warmest July in record. In Europe, the temperatures reached to more above 40 degrees Celsius at the end of the month. That was the second warmest July, tied with 2010 on record. North America had its sixth highest July temperatures on record. South America saw above average conditions present across much of the continent. Above all, guys, the Arctic ice. This was a major climatic, this is some major thing to worry about. That Arctic sea ice extinct. This year in July 2021, the Arctic sea ice extent was 18.8% below the 1981 to 2010 average समझ रहे हो the fourth smallest July extent since the satellite records began in 1979. So since this has happening, we are starting we are working with the satellite records since 1979. In this year July, as it has been said by various agencies that this July was the hottest on record in many places. So this has led to the increased melting of the Arctic Sea also. So this is something which is very something which should be worried about, because the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, found that severe heat waves, as they have estimated that severe heat wave that used to occur in once in 50 years will now likely happen once per decade. In a study published in last month in the Nature journal Nature Climate Change, scientists determined that records shattering heat waves are up to 7 times more likely between now and 2050, and they are going to be 21 times more likely to occur from 2050 to 2080. And you know what these heat waves do? Heat waves are occurring every time, we know that. Yes, it's a regular phenomenon. During the summers we used to experience in India also, the heat wave is there. But the range, the duration of the heat waves is extending. And what this duration is doing, because heat waves also act as a precursor of droughts. They also fuel droughts. Now, what are droughts? Guys, droughts are not often the first thing that comes to our mind when we talk about the climatic events or when we talk about the natural disasters, because they escalate slowly and their damages are not immediately visible, right? Neither they are not so much dramatic as hurricanes or floods or cyclones are, because cyclones and hurricanes are so dramatic, or wildfires, like wow, this is severe. No, we get worried about anything that we see in front of us. But actually, the droughts cause as much damage to the ecosystems and the lives as caused by the severe climatic events like hurricanes or wildfires for that matter. Because these extended event of climate change, this extended event of you know heat waves are causing, you know they are actually drying up the soil very quickly. They are drying up the soil, they are decreasing the moisture content, which is actually causing the loss of the flora, that is ultimately going to cause negative impact on the rainfall as well. Drought can lead to increase in droughts. They can also lead to increase in the incidents like wildfire, because what is being done during the droughts and heat wave, the sun dry up the soil, they also dry up the vegetation, some of the vegetation. The more and more vegetation will dry up, that will act as a fuel for wildfires, and that's why we are seeing more and more wildfires, and they are getting fiercer day by day. These droughts can also cause in the outbreak of insects. They can also result in the forest diebacks and altered rates of carbon, nutrient, and water cycling. Right. So what actually increased temperatures are doing, they are also causing they are further adding up to the loss of or lowering of the rainfall. When the lowering of rainfall will occur, that is again going to add up to the droughts. So basically, there are these various climatic phenomena. They play a synergistic effect. One incident is happening, that is fueling to another climatic event, that is actually making those natural disasters more fiercer and fiercer. For example, how droughts and heat waves affect each other. As we know that if severe heat wave will occur, that may cause less rainfall, that might lead to the droughts. For example, droughts can also intensify heat waves because the sun can more easily heat the ground when there is less moisture to the soil to evaporate. So no evaporation will occur. So the stress caused by the incomplete recovery could lead to widespread tree death. And this will lower the amount of carbon that will be sequestrated by the forest, because that will affect negatively the survival of the forest. So when there will be low forest, which are the biggest sink on land for carbon dioxide, that is again going to fuel the climate change, or that is again going to increase the global warming. Right. So these kind of things, this fuel a positive feedback loop and making climate change and thus droughts severe. So basically everything is related to each other. If one thing is getting, droughts are adding up to the heat waves are adding up to the droughts. So like while we are talking, recently we have seen in US severe heat waves, massive heat waves have claimed 116 lives in Oregon, and 78 people have died in Washington. Similarly, in Canada, it lies in temperate zone. So basically, now Canada has this summer. All of us know that. All of you must be knowing that the temperatures have reached around 50 degrees Celsius in Canada, which led to death of 230 people in British Columbia, and which boiled Shellfish, millions of shellfish have died due to alive. They have boiled alive in oceans due to increased temperature. So these types of incidences are happening everywhere. Dubai saw worst heat wave, which led to the artificial rainfall. They actually did artificial rainfall to get some respite of that heat wave. Kazakhstan, from the last consecutive 3 years, they are experiencing drought, which is leading to the mass death of horses there. In India, now let's talk about India. What is happening in India? So in India, guys, Baripara district in Odisha, for the first time in the history, in March, the temperature reached 44.6 degrees Celsius. Baripara is near Simlipal Biosphere Reserve. All of you must have heard about it. Simlipal Biosphere Reserve, like it's near the Simlipal Biosphere Reserve. So just think about it. When temperature reached on 31st March, not even April, on 31st March, temperature reached there 44.6 degrees Celsius. That caused huge havoc there. So just think about what would be happening to the wildlife. Such extremes of climatic conditions are going to adversely impact the biodiversity for sure. Like last year, the Uttarakhand, let's talk about Uttarakhand, Himalayas. Himalayas are also seeing, the Uttarakhand is seeing a lot of rain deficit. And that is one of the major reason why Uttarakhand, we are noticing or listening to more and more wildfire, incidences in Uttarakhand. And this is very bad because, Uttarakhand is in the lap of Himalaya. So if the wildfires, if they are occurring there, they are not only causing the pollution of air, but they also causing, increase in the huge amount of, they're adding up to huge amount of carbon, right? Carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that is so close to the Himalaya. So that might again result in the warming of the Himalaya much faster, at a much faster rate, which will again cause the melting of the glaciers, and finally which will again cause huge amount of meltwater content in the rivers, finally resulting in flooding. So such kind of incidences are increasing day by day. According to the Indian Met Department, as a result of climate change, monsoon rainfall in 2008 was the sixth lowest since 1901. It was also the sixth warmest years in 1901 when the recording started in India. And every year in India, we are seeing two kind of extremes, and that is also a result of climate change. On the one hand, we are experiencing extended heat wave season. On the other hand, we are experiencing floods in many places. Like even in the single states, we are experiencing, some places are experiencing drought and some places are experiencing flooding. So all types of these events are happening or fueling because of the climate change. So now the next disaster that has become very frequent, that we see in news every year around the world, is the wildfires. Guys, initially I think when I was doing my masters, when I was a student, I never thought about heard about wildfires so frequently that we are listening every year this right now when we are talking, when we are sitting in this lecture, there are huge wildfires that have been erupted around the world. Right now, a lot of wildfires have erupted everywhere, and like in Greece, Eva Island in Greece, the Dixie Fire in California, Turkey is burning, Siberia is burning. We are seeing everywhere, we are seeing huge wildfires. Now, what is wildfire? Yes, you may say that wildfire is a natural event that used to happen well below before the climate change as well. But climate change increases the wildfire risks in several ways. One thing is earlier spring snow melt, then higher temperatures. What they do, high temperature increase in evapotranspiration, right? So that causes, right now just we have discussed, increased temperatures or heat waves result in the excessive evapotranspiration that leaves the vegetation as well as The soil dried out because of that. And in addition, higher temperatures and extreme drought again also triggers the tree stress. That will trigger the tree stress and mortality also. Now, what will happen? This will exacerbate outbreaks of insects also, like dark beetles, which both of these factors together, what can they do? They can increase the susceptibility of forests to wildfires. Now, climate change also causes greater seasonal extremes, that we know that. Now we are having wetter wet seasons. We are also having hotter and drier dry seasons. So now what is happening when wetter wet seasons are there? So this is helping the growth of vegetation. The bumper growth of vegetation is happening everywhere. So when the drier dry seasons come, they provide more fuel to the wildfires. So when more fuel is present for the wildfires, they will add up. That is why the wildfires are becoming more fierce, the mega fires. Now mega fires, there we are seeing more and more mega fires, like what we see in Australia last year, right? So these, and what is the problem here? These mega fires, actually what they do, they release large amount of carbon. They release large amount of carbon. Now, what are the forests? Tropical rainforests, when we talk about, they are the biggest sink of carbon dioxide when we talk per meter square. They are the biggest sinks of carbon. Now, when the forests are like have been set ablaze by us because we are fueling this climate change, so they are, despite being a sink, they also become the emitter of the carbon dioxide, which again keep on fueling this climate change. The fires are estimated to release 290 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually, further fueling to the climate change. Now, while we are talking about in California, you must have heard, whenever we have heard initially, like earlier, every year California sees a lot of, we see in news that California has got fire. Yes, California has got various fires, and but due to climate change, guys, almost half of California's 10 largest fires, wildfires on record, have occurred in the last decade. And right now in Dixie, California, there's one wildfire which has erupted, and that is the second most deadliest wildfire in the history of California. Not only California, let's why talk about California? Right now, Turkey is experiencing its worst fire. Siberia is experiencing its worst fire. What is happening there, guys? Like, like right now we have a lot of wildfires erupted in many places in the world. Like, but Greece is having fire, 150 fires. Right now wildfires have erupted in Greece. Turkey is seeing the worst wildfire in its history. Okay, and around 1,75,000 hectares of land has burned, and all of these taking together right now, Siberia, the Siberian wildfire, the picture that you are seeing here right now, Siberian wildfire is bigger than all the fires taken together. Currently, Russia is fighting more than 190 wildfires only in Siberia, and that has forced the closure of airports and roads, and that has forced the Russian government for the widespread evacuation. And the biggest problem with the Siberian wildfire is that, what is it? Because it is lying very close to the Arctic Circle. So the huge amount of smoke, guys, can be seen through the satellite also. It is in news everywhere. So it is erupting so much amount of smoke that is reaching the North Pole. That is now what happens, because this is having huge amount of carbon. Now, which causes the warming of the atmosphere. And when there will be enhanced warming of the atmosphere at the Arctic, as we have already seen, the Arctic ice was at its lowest level in July. That is going to fuel the further melting of the Arctic ice. So this is something which is very important. And do you know the area, the vast area where the Siberian wildfire has spread is around the size of Argentina? And why this came? And the biggest reason behind this wildfire in the Siberian area was because of, like, it was estimated that they had a drought, and some of the hottest weather on record was actually observed there. And strong winds are causing the actually enhancing, and which is making it very difficult to control this Siberian wildfire. So these are some of the, fiercest of the incidents or wrath of nature that we are talking. But this wrath of nature is being brought upon by us, and actually wild animals, the biodiversity is paying the price for that. Let's talk about Australian bushfire. We have heard about the start of, this is the case study that I would definitely like to talk about. Australia had the warmest year in 2019 on record. Following that, the Australian bushfire erupted. The start of 2020 found Australia in the midst of worst ever forest fire or bushfire season ever. Because bushfire is, they are frequent every year, they are a common phenomenon. But because of that hottest 2019, the soil was dried out to huge extent, and the fuel, that the vegetation that had dried out, that act as a fuel for causing this Australian bushfire. The fire burned through more than 10 million hectares of land, which also killed around at least 28 people. It razed entire communities to the ground, taken the homes of thousands of people, and it has left millions of people affected. Because now what they do, what the huge instances or incidences like these actually do, or what they do add up, guys. They, as we have whatever, the loss to the biodiversity, the loss to the flora, the loss to the fauna of a particular forested area is one thing that is being caused. That is the for environment, that is the cost that environment is paying. The other thing is the huge amount of carbon which is emitted from the such kind of forest fires actually add up to the increased temperature. The other thing which happens here is, now the other thing which happens here is, it affects the society also. The lot of people who live in the vicinity of those forested area, the agricultural lands, and everything get affected. That impacts the society in a huge way. Along with that, the huge loss to the property, the flora, fauna also have costs incurred to it. That also finally results in the loss of economy. So that also, so these kind of events have a lot of impact not only on the environment but also on the society as well as the economy. And we will have to take some action before it is too late. Now, these huge, massive fires have become a regular phenomenon, but we cannot, when such kind of climatic huge disaster like a wildfire erupts, there is still time if we identify it on time. And but these type of events are actually how they are making more and more, as I've told you, extended dry season is making, providing more fuel to it. Wetter season, then extreme dry season are providing fuel to it. And above all, strong winds and frequent lightning events, they are also adding, which are a result of climate change, of course. They also act as a precursor, and they are also adding a fuel to the wildfires. Just have a look. This graph is showing the carbon emissions which are released by the fires in Siberia. Like, this is not a very old data. We have just taken the last 6-7 years. Right from the 2016, we can see that the carbon emissions released by the fires in Siberia is increasing day by day, every year. And this year till now, the fires are still there, and this is going to, right, this is going, like, these are the results till 8th August 2021. The fire is still on, so this has definitely increased. So just look at the trend. So now it is going to, this increased amount of carbon emissions which are happening there is going to fuel the climate change further, and that is again going to cause huge and huge biggest fires of these kinds in future. So this is one of the biggest environmental or climatic event that is actually fueled by the climate change after the heat waves. Now, as we can see that all these disasters are related to each other. Disasters, heat waves are fueling the droughts, droughts are fueling the heat waves, which are actually drying out the soil and vegetation so much that are causing to extreme wildfires, the mega fires. As Dr. Pritchard from the IPCC said, extreme fire weather events, including increased lightning and strong winds, are also becoming more common under the climate change. So basically, everything is adding to negative impacts only. So, along with the fires, another very common and climatic disaster or natural disaster which is there, that is known as hurricanes and cyclones or tropical cyclones. Now let's these were always there, but even in India, like I think even before you started, even when you were in school, you must have heard that these days in the last decade we have heard every year we have heard more and more cyclones coming to our country. This was a phenomenon. We used to hear a lot of hurricanes, about the hurricanes, but we didn't used to hear about a lot of cyclones. But in the last decade, in the last 1 or 2 decades, we have seen some extreme climatic events like hurricanes and cyclones. Now, what these hurricanes and cyclones are? Basically, these are the tropical cyclones. These are the weather events which are known by different names: hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones, on the basis of which ocean they have, on the basis of the ocean of their origination. For example, tropical cyclones are known as hurricanes in Atlantic Ocean and Northeast Pacific Ocean. They are known as typhoons in Northwest Pacific Ocean and cyclones in Indian Ocean and South Pacific Ocean. As you can see now, what are these hurricanes? Hurricanes are basically caused by the warming of the oceanic water, which actually makes a weather system that adds that when that are actually originated in the oceanic water, and when they move, whenever they fall on land, they cause huge devastation there in the form of strong winds, torrential rains, and high tidal waves. Now, as we know that the energy that feeds hurricanes comes from the warm water, and as climate change is causing more and more heating, these cyclones, cyclonic storms are getting more fiercer day by day and more frequent day by day. I'll just tell you, the cyclones, as I have told you, these are the weather patterns. This is a cyclonic system which is being formed. In the first picture, you can say that this is a cyclonic system. This is a cyclonic system that is being formed over a ocean, over ocean. Now, when it moves either clockwise or anti-clockwise. When it moves, whenever there is a landfall of it, whenever land comes on its way, this results in torrential rains. The physical damage in cyclones is caused by the heavy wind speed, high wind speeds. Then torrential rains causes a flooding. Torrential rain along with the tidal waves, they cause flooding of the coastline, coastal areas, and this causes huge loss to the life and property. And so whenever we have to measure the severity of a cyclone, basically hurricanes, there is a scale known as Saffir-Simpson scale. So, according to this Saffir-Simpson scale, they have the different types of hurricanes have been divided on the basis of wind speed, on have been divided into 5 categories. So, even a slight change, even a slight change in a cyclonic storm can cause huge difference, can result in huge difference in the wind speed. For example, I'll just tell you a category 4 hurricane which is having a speed of 130 to 156 miles per hour. This storm can deliver 250 times more damage, wind damage specifically, wind damage as compared to a category 1 hurricane. So just think, only difference of four categories. The impact of the damage caused by winds huge is huge. So a category 1 cyclone or storm or hurricane has a wind speed of 75 to 90, 74 to 95 miles per hour. And a category 4 having 130 to 156 miles per hour wind speed will cause 250 times more damage, by physical damage by the winds, as compared to a category 1 cyclone. Okay, so as we know that due to climate change, the ocean water is getting warmer. As the sea surface temperature and the air temperature is rising, this is causing one more problem. Guys, when the temperature of the air increases, the moisture carrying capacity of the air also increases. It is estimated that for every 1.8 degree Fahrenheit increase in the air temperature, there will be 7% increase in the moisture carrying capacity of the air. So now the temperatures are higher. Because of that, more and more warming is occurring. The other thing is air is also drier. So that means now air is having more and more capability of holding on to the moisture. So more and more water is now getting evaporated. Which when essence it forms, gets cooled down and it forms clouds, which is creating or which is enhancing the severity of the cyclonic storms. Let me tell you one thing, guys. Initially, we used to think they used to form a lot of a lot of high pressure systems are formed in the oceans, and most of the times they don't get any names because they're not very problematic storms, and sometimes they do not even reach the lands. Landfall is not there. Why? Like only severe storms get their naming, and sometimes they die out. They don't even reach the land, but because of the global warming and because of the reason that I have told you just now, because of the climate change or global warming, the moisture carrying capacity is increasing, which is leading to the formation of stronger, more and more category 3 to 5 hurricanes are being formed, which are causing devastation along the coast all over the world. Like, let's talk about one of the fiercest hurricane that has struck US. Guys, because of the warm water and the warm air, Hurricane Harvey in 2017 dropped 2.7 trillion gallons of water over two states of Louisiana and Texas in US. Okay, and it became second most expensive natural disaster in the US history. Similarly, a study concluded that there could be a 5% increase in maximum cyclonic wind speed if the world warmed by 2 degrees Celsius by 2100. So only a 2 degrees Celsius increase is going to increase the maximum cyclonic speed by 5%. This is huge. This is going to cause, you cannot stop a hurricane. There is no way that we can be saved by hurricane if we are, living at a place where hurricanes are very common or frequent. The only way to save a life is to evacuate the place. So yes, we can stop the loss to life, but how would we stop the loss to property? And loss to property finally results in huge economic losses that actually shook the economies of the countries. And with more and more cyclonic patterns are being formed in the oceans these days, and with more and more high speed winds which are coming our ways, they are going to cost us heavily. Okay, so now what is the problem with the cyclones is, during the high super cyclones or in the heavy high category hurricanes, the wind speed can reach up to 300 kilometers per hour. So guys, when the wind speed reaches 300 kilometers per hour, this results in huge physical damage. This will cause damage to the electrical poles. This will cause the damage to the houses. You can see this picture of Nisarg cyclone that struck India last year. So this is the trail of destruction. Like, this is not only Example of one cyclone, after every cyclone we have a trail of destruction left behind. So guys, just think about it. What will happen if the 300 km per hour speed rain will come? You must have heard about Irma, cyclonic storm Irma. It was category 5, 4 hurricane, which struck the Atlantic Ocean, and it caused havoc on the Caribbean island. The island of Barbados didn't have electricity for the next 6 months, and due to huge cyclonic wind speed, because of the huge heavy high very high wind speed, a lot of whole of the Barbados was submerged underwater, and the beaches were not having waters. It was looking like, there were videos on television which were showing that it was a the beaches were without the water, because most of the water has gushed on the inside the land, so island, that was causing. So that can be an impact of a cyclone. Where would you go in such condition? So the other thing is melting of glaciers, and the climate change is also leading to this rise in sea level. That rise in sea level is going to intensify the destructive impact of the cyclonic storms due to increased storm surges. And to add to the misery, the amount of rainfall which is carried by this storm is also going to increase. And it is estimated that these storms are carrying 14% more rainfall due to warming, global warming, which has fueled more and more retention of moisture by the air, which is resulting in more intense floods. There are other impacts of warming on tropical cyclones as well. One of them is rapid intensification. Now, this rapid intensification is something I'll tell you. The rapid intensification means, for example, there was a cyclone and it was estimated that its wind speed would be 80 to 40, 80 to 90 miles per hour, kilometers per hour. Now, within 24 hours, if the speed of a cyclone, wind speed of a cyclone will increase by 55 kilometers per hour, that is going to, and that is known as actually rapid intensification. Means when this cyclone will get within a very short span of time, say 24 hours or 40 hours, the cyclone category changes from a cyclone to a super cyclone, or a category 1 hurricane gets converted into a category 3 hurricane. So that kind of events are happening more and more. So that are this rapid intensification make the cyclones unpredictable, and it also become very difficult to monitor them, because you cannot, if their wind speed is suddenly changed, so the landfall time will also change, so the early warning system will get affected by it, and this is going to cause a lot of loss to life and property. Like in 2020, last year, guys, cyclone Amphan that caused huge wrecked havoc. Cyclone Amphan actually displayed rapid intensification. When it developed from a cyclone, which was having a wind speed of 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, to a super cyclone, which was having super cyclone is a cyclone which is having wind speeds of more than 220 kilometers per hour. So in just about 40 hours, that Amphan gets converted from cyclone to super cyclone. These days, due to climate change, stronger storms might occur in the areas closer to North and South Pole. We are seeing a lot more activities like that. And the other thing that is happening here, that means if more and more storms are being found near the North and South Poles, that means those areas, the warming of North and South Poles is also occurring. And that's not very easy. Okay, we are also seeing a lot of more and more, instances, the instances of category 3 to 5 hurricanes based on the Saffir-Simpson scale that I just discussed. More and more cyclones or hurricanes are now of category 3 to 5 are actually have increased by 5% per decade. Means every year there is increase in the cyclones of the category of 3 to 5, which means they are getting more and more intense. What is the reason? The reason is the climate change, because the air is getting warmer, the warming of oceans is happening, which are making these weather systems more intense. The 2020 hurricane season in the North Atlantic, guys, had both a high number of named storms and a high number of intense hurricanes, with six hurricanes fell in the category between 3 to 5. Just think about it. 5, like, initially, this in the last decade, over this last decade, the category 4 and 5 hurricanes have become so common, and it was never there in the history. It was never there in the history of the Atlantic Ocean. According to a research in 2015 by the Indian Meteorological Department, in the Indian Ocean region, the chances of cyclonic disturbances on sea surface, like which are transforming into the cyclones, have increased in the Arabian Sea. So now what happens? Like, let me tell you what happens. Many times cyclonic conditions are being formed in the oceans or seas, but what happens, they get weakened up and they never get converted into huge storms or cyclones. Sometimes they only get converted into storms, and that not even that doesn't even reach the land. But research has analyzed the data from 1951 to 2010, and it has said that in the Indian Ocean region, such chances of cyclonic disturbances transforming into cyclones have increased a lot in the Arabian Sea. In 2019, the North Indian Ocean cyclone season, guys, was the most active season ever recorded in the northern India. In 2019, out of 8 cyclones that hit India, out of them 5 were originated in Arabian Sea. And do you know the average number of cyclones in annual cyclones in Arabian Sea is 1. And in that particular year in 2019, 5 cyclones actually were originated in Arabian Sea. So that is a result which is showing that more and more intense weather systems are forming every year, and that is making our life more difficult. And not only our life, that is causing, let's see, this year only, amid the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. In the second wave, during the second wave, we had 2 cyclones, Taute and Yas, and both of them left behind a trail. Before that, last year in 2020, all of us have heard about Amphan. It has devastated West Bengal. It has devastated West Bengal. And do you know that, guys, the Amphan was the first pre-monsoon super cyclone in a century that emerged from the Bay of Bengal. Pre-monsoon cyclones are not frequent, and it was a pre-monsoon super cyclone that emerged in the century. And it was a powerful type tropical cyclone, and it led to the destruction of lives and property, in maximum loss in West Bengal, also in Bangladesh. In West Bengal, it created havoc. Along with that, Odisha also. Only in West Bengal, it costed around $13.2 billion damage. That is huge. That can break down the backbone of any economy. Such huge impacts, huge losses by the tropical cyclones. Similarly, right after the Amphan last year, we saw Nisarg. Nisarg was the second. It was the second tropical cyclone, pre-monsoon cyclone that hit Mumbai, the financial capital of our country. And cyclone Nisarg was the second pre-monsoon cyclone that has ever emerged from the Arabian Sea. It was not as problematic as Amphan was. And in the recent, few years, in 2018, 19, 17, we have seen few deadliest of the cyclones like Vayu, Cyclone Fani. These have caused a lot of problem in India specifically, talking about. So I will not talk a lot of a number of cyclones now. So this, can you see in this picture? This is how a cyclonic system is formed over oceans, and then it moves towards clockwise and anti-clockwise direction on northern and southern hemisphere. So now what happens, whenever land comes in its way, there it causes huge havoc. So this is how a satellite picture of a, this is how a satellite picture of it looks like, and this is how cyclonic systems are being formed. And this, you can see a trail of destruction. They causes flooding, severe flooding, loss to life and property. So the only way out of uh, flood or caused by hurricane or a cyclone is just evacuate the place. If we have evacuated it, we can well be saved from it. But if we haven't, like, because you cannot fight with the wrath of nature, and when it is being fueled by human anthropogenic reasons only. Okay, so these are the major cyclones, and this is the reason how they happen and what are their impacts on soil. uh, Actually, one more thing that happens with the uh, you know cyclone is it causes tidal waves actually cause more and more inundation. They cause more and more inundation of cyclonic sea water. Tidal waves inundate the soil. So that finally what it does, it leads to the salination. It reduces the fertility of the soil, because when salt water will submerge the land, the salt will remain there, only water will be evaporated, we know that. So increase in the concentration of soil will make the soil infertile. The other thing is higher amount of tidal wave will also cause corrosion of the buildings. So that is a huge impact. Of course, it's going to cost the economy a lot. So after the hurricanes, another major and more frequent events which are there are floods. Like, yes, we know that hurricanes also cause flooding due to torrential rains and the high tidal waves, but this is something. So generally we see the impacts of hurricanes or the cyclones are observed in the coastal regions. Now, other than coastal regions, everywhere flooding is caused by torrential rains, right? So the major two reasons for causing flooding. What is flood? Flooding is when the water comes out of the boundaries of the water bodies and inundates the land. That is known as flood. That is known as flooding. So the major reasons for flooding is torrential rainfall or heavier than normal rainfall. And the other thing is limited capacity of rivers and other water bodies, and the rainwater harvesting, like water harvesting systems structures to withstand huge amount of water that has suddenly come. One of the major reason why we are seeing these days, we are like, there are two types of climate anomalies which are happening. We are seeing more and more drought conditions, and suddenly after the drought or extended drought season, we are seeing flooding of the states, not only in India but in other countries as well. Like in the last few days, let's talk about the last few days. The world has experienced huge deluges in the form of flood. Like recently in Germany and Belgium, they have experienced huge deluge of the flooding. The Henan province of China has experienced maximum rainfall. It has experienced maximum rainfall in the last 1000 years history, right? History, in its history ever. So these are kind of events that we are seeing everywhere. Guys, according to the nature, extreme rainfall events have tripled in central India between 1950 to 2015. And according to another assessment by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, there will be a rise of in the frequency of floods in India due to the rising temperatures between 2070 and 2100. Let's not go far. Let's see last year in 2020, 256 districts across 13 states in India have reported flood due to excessive rainfall. So widespread rain, extreme rains. We have already said, they have said that there are widespread rains. There will be more frequencies of rain in the, not only in central India but also in the mountains and the South India. They are experiencing heavy episodes of rain. Let's talk about the current events, because we right now currently we are in the midst of monsoon in India, and currently we are experiencing, all of us know that Maharashtra has received worst floods ever. The western coast of India has received 23 inches of rainfall in just 24 hours. So this is one reason, guys. As I've told you, the two types of climatic extremes are happening. One is extended drought season is happening, and after that, right after that, suddenly huge heavy downpour is happening in a very short span of time. Now let's have a look at the downpour, that 23 inches of rainfall that occurred in just merely 24 hours. So actually, the reason behind that is very slow movement of the storm. So these days, uh, there was a study by Princeton University, and like, there was a joint study of UK and US. They have come up with the outcome that these days, due to climatic conditions, the storms sometimes are moving very slowly. Now, when the movement is very slowly, they are moving with the speed of 4 kilometers per hour or 1.5 kilometers per hour. So just think about it. When the storms will move at a very slow speed, so what will happen? Heavy downpour will occur in a in a particular place only in short span of time. That will not let the soil, let the water seep into the soil. That will lead to the flooding of that particular area. So instances like that are happening a lot. Around in the current Maharashtra floods, around 90,000 people were rescued from the flood affected areas. Mahabaleshwar recorded its highest ever rainfall, 60 centimeter rainfall in just 24 hours. That also triggered Maharashtra. We also saw a huge heavy landslide because of torrential rains. Floods are affecting everywhere in India right now, guys. Wherever we see UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Assam, many states are receiving floods right now when we are talking about. Now, some researchers have shown that this has been the worrying trend for the past few years. Like in 2016, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan faced a drought-like situation just before when the flood occurred there in July, August. Similarly, Bihar and Assam, those two states that are experiencing the worst floods in almost 3 decades, they had rainfall deficit that monsoon. So can you see that? Some parts are flooding and the rainfall deficit or monsoon deficit is there in place. So why is it happening? Why? Because why it is happening, guys? Because of the climate change. There is extreme extended heat wave or drought conditions which is prevailing there, and due to the slow speed of the storm, one thing is, more and more when the temperatures are increasing, the capacity of air is increasing to hold moisture. The storm is having huge amount of moisture in it, which is ready to precipitate. When that ascends and it cools down, it forms clouds, and it is ready to precipitate. When it can, after condensation, it's ready to precipitate. So they are having huge amount of moisture, but due to very slow speed of, you know, very slow speed of the storm, it is downpouring is occurring at a particular place. Like for example, let's talk about the deluge of Kedarnath or Kedarnath tragedy. So what happened there? The climate change is adding to the events like cloud burst more and more. What is cloud burst? Heavy downpour occurring at a particular time in less, like short span of time, huge downpour is occurring. So now what happened in Kedarnath? Two weather systems actually came at the same place at the same time. So what happened? Western disturbances from Caspian Sea and the Black Sea came to the Kedarnath around the 16 June disaster, and at the same time, one weather system from the Bay of Bengal reached there. So both of them reached meet there at the same time. That resulted in heavy downpour. And as we know that the Kedarnath is in a gorge, it's a valley, Kedarnath Valley. So when the above the when in the mountains that occurred, the huge heavy downpour occurred that led to the busting of that glacier lake which was there. So huge volume of water entered Mandakini River and the Saraswati River that caused the Kedarnath deluge. And all of us know that more than 5,700 on a record, more than 5,700 people have lost their lives in there. But why was there? That tragedy was made so big because of cultural intrusion, I would say. There's a term like a lot and lot of more than lakhs, like people, lakhs of pilgrimage go there for the, as pilgrim to do the Char Dham Yatra. A lot of lakhs of people go every season. And that time, people didn't pay heed to the warnings. And even the Met Department was not aware that this can be such huge deluge. And the one of the reason for such, heavy tragedy was also the presence of so many tourists out there, because the local people which were living there, they knew that, they are well aware of the weather systems prevailing there. So they got the signals, they left their house and they went to the high ground, but the tourists were not aware of it. The other thing is, a lot of encroachment that we have done there in the river floodplain. So what is a river floodplain? River floodplain is the area where river can, expand during the monsoon season, or when it is flowing to its maximum capacity. So now what we are doing, we have encouraged the floodplains of the rivers. So river was flowing with its due course. Actually, it was we who entered, who came in its way. That's why Kedarnath tragedy. So it was one example of heavy downpour in a short span of time can cause huge deluge, like the ones we are experiencing right now. Similarly, Kerala floods were also the result of that, and there also it can be said that a huge that can be called as a man-made disaster. Why? Because it was forecasted that there are going to be heavy rains in Kerala, and the out of 54 dams, 30 the gates of 35 dams were opened at the same time. All of the gates were opened at the same time to prevent any bigger tragedy, because the watermark in those dams was about to reach that danger mark. Now the question here arises, when there were, Met Department has already gave warnings that heavy rain downpour can occur there. Why the water level was already around the danger mark? Why the dam's gates were not opened already to diverge any such calamity? That was human error, but actually this was huge. The downpours are like that are a result of climate change that we have discussed. Coming to the Assam floods in the recent, like Assam floods are there, like every year we notice and we hear about Assam floods on a regular basis. Why it is happening? Those Assam floods actually fuel. So they are a result again of climate change. The reasons being, we know that what is the source of Brahmaputra? Brahmaputra source of Brahmaputra is Tibet. Mansarovar Lake in Tibet is the source of Brahmaputra, and it is known as Sangpo in China. So Sangpo, then just before the monsoon, we have summer season. So rising temperature is causing more and more meltwater content into the Brahmaputra river. And it is, Brahmaputra rivers flows right through the middle of the largest northeastern state, Assam. And initially, guys, it used to flood every year. But initially, people used to welcome the floods with open arms because the population was not so much. The people had not encroached the floodplains of the rivers that time. They used to welcome the first floods. Why? Because, as we know that, I hope you people must be knowing it, that Brahmaputra river and Ganga, Ganges and Brahmaputra, both of these dump the largest amount of sediment into the Bay of Bengal. So huge amount of sediments that are being brought along with the water current, they actually during the flood season, they bring new soil from the mountains that acts increases the fertility of the area. So the people used to welcome it. But due to climate change, in the summers, more and more meltwater is coming into the river, and immediately after that, due to the reasons we have just mentioned, more and more rainfall is happening. Now, this rainfall is actually leading to the huge amount of immediate surge in the river water level of the river, which is causing intense floods every year. And it was said that, guys, this, as we know that the Assam floods also, Kaziranga National Park is, which is home to one horned rhino, which is endemic to India. It's also an endangered species. So these Assam floods were a boon for the Kaziranga National Park initially. Why? Because whenever it used to flood there, This used to bring more life to the grasslands there, which used to add as food for the herbivores. Now, but now what is happening in 2019? 90% area of the Kaziranga National Park was flooded. Initially, what animals used to do, they were accustomed that yes, during the rain, the floods will come, so we have to go to the higher ground. But when in 2019, due to climatic change, of course, the 90% area of Kaziranga National Park was drowned, submerged under water. That led to the death of many animals. So when many animals died, so that here now we can say what used to be a boon, it is becoming a bane for the same place because of the climatic events. Now that is because that is going to cause huge loss of biodiversity. Let me tell you guys, since past few years, the death of rhinos, one-horned rhinos, by the Assam floods have overpassed the deaths by the poachers. So more one-horned rhinos are dying because of floods than they are being killed by the poachers. So that is what happening here. So this everything is something is for good. Everything natural event had its way. Every natural event has its pros and cons, but the climate change is just adding the fuel to the extreme climatic events, extreme natural disaster that is causing a havoc, and that is going to create a lot of problems for us. Now let's talk about the IPCC report that was recently published. As per the report, I'll only talk about India because it is the time that we have to act now, because it's now or never. Because according to that latest report, which is Code Red for Humanity, it has warned India that flash floods, sizzling temperatures, extreme temperature events, droughts, intense cyclones are likely to occur more in India. There were specifically, warnings for India, and due to climate change. And this, along with India, this will continue to devastate the regions in the South Asia unless some drastic measures are taken to curb the carbon emissions. Right? This is the high time. See, we are big country. There are so many states which are or island nations or countries which are not even a culprit. Like Maldives. Maldives is a very small island nation. It is said that if there is 1 feet increase in the water level, it is going to submerge. Like the Maldives will vanish from the face of the earth. If you will ever go to there, they are the most environment friendly people on earth, though they do not, the oceans there are so clean, they do not add anything, they do not use plastic, they are plastic free, they are trying to keep oceans as clean as possible, they are doing all the measures to protect the coral reefs because they knew the value, their value, they knew the survival is like their survival depends on saving the climate, but they are the ones, the small countries are bearing the brunt of the climate change. So if 1 feet increase in sea level will result in the submergence of Maldives, it will 70% of the Bangladesh will also be affected by it. As we already don't have any place to live on earth. We are 7 billion people, population more than we are going to be over 7 billion. And we don't have almost three-fourths of the earth is covered with water, and with so less land and more increase in the sea level, things are only going to get worse. So we have to act now. The UN body IPCC has further warned that the world is running out of time to prevent the worst of the climate crisis. So this is our time. We have to act now. So we require some huge policy changes. And guys, only by doing the international agreements like climate change, COP21, COP23, it is not going to change at all if we will not actually follow those in our day-to-day life. So how we can see, we cannot prevent the natural disasters like forest fires. Small forest fires were common, small cyclones, sometimes huge cyclones and tropical storms. These are common phenomena. But we are adding up to the huge, more and more emission of the greenhouse gases is just fueling that. They are becoming more and more large scale, they are causing large scale destruction of life, human, animal, and plant life. So we have to stop it. Now, we can have, how can these things can be stopped? The UN calls for the governments to invest in early warning systems and implement disaster risk reduction strategies. So early warning systems have to be there. Like, you can only warn people about the cyclones. So only the, how can we stop it is the evacuation. You cannot fight a forest fire alone. You will die. You will have to, early warning systems have to be there. Governments have to spend on it and invest on it. So countries should also invest in resilient infrastructure that can withstand the rising sea levels and higher wind speed, among other increased hazards. See, guys, we can talk about n number of things, right? But the only way and the only effort, or our only focus, should be on curbing the emission of the greenhouse gases. Because if we will curb the emission of the greenhouse gases by investing more and more in renewable energy, by investing more and more in alternative sources of energy, this is the only way to help, that will help us out to avert the worst effects of climate change. That should be the one thing. The other thing is, United Nations organizations and scientists all over the world are teaching us or telling us to opt for nature-based solutions for climate and disaster resilience. These nature-based solutions are the use of ecosystem services, which is provided by the nature, like trees, helping trees in sequestration of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases, by developing more and more the wetlands can be used as there, the ocean side, the by doing steps to prevent the destruction of the coral reefs. Coral reefs are known as tropical rainforests of the oceans. They help in the sequestration, huge sequestration of carbon dioxide, and they are also the major reasons why ocean emit largest amount of oxygen. So we have to look out for nature-based solutions. The policymakers should also adopt for practical solutions that will mitigate the impacts of climate change by quickly reducing the greenhouse gases. So these greenhouse gases emission should be the only basic and most important criteria that should be keep in mind, because we can offer early warning system, we can opt for making embankments around the rivers. This all requires money, more and more money. But as soon as disaster comes, it breaks down everything. It causes huge loss to money, it causes huge loss to property, it causes huge loss to life. So we have to take huge effort, and we have to try to follow the recommendations that are required for containing the climate change according to Paris Agreement. So because we have to act now, because it is not now or never. Otherwise, it is going to be too late, as it is being said that we are the first generation who is bearing the brunt of the climate change, and we are the last generation who can do anything about it. So please wake up and do your bit. Thank you. I'll stop here. So now you can ask your questions. Has my screen stopped? Sharing has been stopped?
Yes, ma'am.
Please ask, in case you have any questions, please do ask. You can type in the chat box, or else you can also unmute yourself and speak the question.
Ma'am, starting from the first part of the lecture, you mentioned a point on the how the Indian Ocean's water level is rising much faster than the others. So could you elaborate more on why that is happening?
So it is according to the latest report from by the IPCC. So that is maybe because of maybe because of its location or something, they have not given the result for it. But actually, the Indian Ocean has been found they are being warming at a faster rate as compared to the other water bodies. The regular monitoring has given out because the research has not been done conducted on why it is happening. Right now, we have just got the results. Now the research is required, then we will get to know why it is actually happening, because it's a big statement and it is something which requires research and why it is happening.
All right, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am, what can we as individuals do to fight climate change? I know you said we can focus on reducing the emissions of greenhouse gases and opting for nature-based solutions. Can you please expand on the same? Okay. So now I'm talking to you as an individual, right? You are an individual. So what you can do, see, every day, guys, by making very small changes in our day-to-day life also, we can, contribute in a big way. Like, just switch off the light or fan. It's a very basic thing when you're not using it. So you must be asking, ma'am, ये तो सब बोलते हैं. So why I'm telling you this? Because in India, अभी भी we are majority of our electricity consumption, like production, is dependent on coal, burning of coal. So burning of fossil fuel is there, fossil fuel consumption is there. So if you will stop wasting light, if you switch off your one bulb or one fan, that is going to save a lot of electricity. And finally, you are going to increase, that is going to result in the release of more and more carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The second thing that you can do is use of more public transport, because you are a kid. I'm telling you, you will, and that will be your bit towards saving the nature. It seems to be very small. Just switch off the light whenever it is more than, switch off the car whenever you are at a red light, which is more than 30-40 seconds, right? Because burning of fossil fuel is the biggest culprit, and in the which results in the enhanced emission of the greenhouse gases. Try to use more and more public transport. Try to use cleaner fuels, right? So these are the things and solutions that you can do in your day-to-day life. Then coming to the nature-based solutions, guys, United Nations organizations, various organizations are working a lot on the nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions says use of ecosystem services provided by the ecosystems. They can be used, like for example, I'll tell you, yesterday in our previous lecture you must have heard about that Professor Pandit in his lecture said just planting tree here and there is not going to help, right? Fine, but at least we can do our bit in making small in conserving the forests, or by making community parks in particular places. By we can do our bit, like the trees play a lot of ecosystem services, like trees or the old forests. They play a dominant role in sequestering the carbon dioxide or carbon. They are the biggest sink on land for the carbon dioxide. Similarly, by preventing wetlands. Have you heard about wetlands? Wetlands, if you know, I'll tell you, these are the any place, low-lying area which is having, or any water body which is having water for a few months or most time of the year. They are known as wetlands. So wetlands are also a very big, sink. They play a very dominant role in absorbing, uh, and they also play a very dominant role in cleaning the groundwater. So there are so many ecosystem services that are provided by the ecosystem by planting and maintaining the forest. The ecosystems provided. So basically, they are the natural solutions. We're not looking out for कि हमें warning system बनाना. Yes, that requires more investment. But by opting for the ecosystem services which are already provided by the nature, we can do our bit. Okay. Ma'am, as we all know, the way governments are working and how the Indian government system works, a shift from petroleum fuel to electrically fueled vehicles seem a step very hard than any other country. So how can Indian cope up with the damage that we would be facing in prolonged delay of accepting cleaner fuel? See, there's a lot of debate. Yes, the the shift from petroleum to electrically fuels, there's a lot of debate over it, because electricity in India still, as I've told you, around 70% to 65 to 70%, we are dependent on coal. So if it is going to clean the air, it is going to help us clean the air or causing less air pollution. But in the long run, if we want to really make it a success, it is a huge step. Definitely, it is a huge step, because we are not, when there is a lot of kya bolenge, electricity, like people are not paying their bills on time, a lot of theft of electricity is happening in India. It's very difficult. So but if we want to make it a success in a true sense, then we will have to opt more and more alternative sources of energy. We will have to try to generate more and more electricity using the renewable resources. Then in true sense, we can say that we are doing our bit, because energy production is happening with the maximum production is happening with using coal. That is only going to increase the pressure on the electricity production only. So in order to do that, we will also have to switch more and more to the cleaner alternative ways of alternative sources of pollution, right? No, we don't have. Actually, methane hydrates, there is a lot. When we get to know about a lot of, and as an energy source, methane hydrates are in boom. Clathrate, you must have heard about it. It is said that methane hydrates or clathrates is embedded in the polar ice, in the thick ice sheets. Like methane molecules are trapped in the with the frozen ice between the frozen water. So that has been, a lot of research is being happening there, and we are, opting for, because methane can be used as an energy source. So that can help in fueling the vehicles, and other ways also we can use methane as an energy source. But there again, problem occurs, that if by due to some reason, while taking out the clathrate or the methane hydrates from the oceans, that might result in leakage of methane. And if methane will be leaked out from the ocean, that frozen ice from where it has been trapped, though it is a good source of energy, but it can also going to add so much to the climate change, because methane has 21 times more global warming potential as compared to carbon dioxide. That means 1 kilogram of methane will cause global warming equivalent to 21 kilogram of carbon dioxide. So there are new, we have many options we have found out from the nature, and we are doing research, but everything has pros and cons. So we are looking out for techniques to extract it from the frozen ice. Then we can use it as a alternative source of energy. Vriti, ma'am, we know in every season floods come in Assam. Despite knowing the fact that incident is bound to happen every year, still a lot damage is caused by floods every year. What can we do? What can we do about this? This is one reason that I've told you. Initially the floods were not so much intense, and there's one more reason to it. Let me tell you. It was a regular phenomenon. Now a lot of people, say that China is also responsible for increased intensity of floods, because they have made a lot of power projects on Sangpo. So Brahmaputra is known as Sangpo in China, right? So they have made a lot of projects. So now what happens, during the summers, they used to hold more and more water using those gates. So this is, I'm telling you, what is the political reason behind it, or man-made, you can say, not political. Let's not call it political. I'll call it as a man-made reason. So this is because they hold more and more moisture. They want to retain more and more water. That's why they keep their gates closed just right after the summer, when the monsoon starts. And as I've told you, these days this is the pattern. That has been observed, that there is heavy downpour. Heavy downpour is occurring in very short duration of time due to slow movement of storms. That was not used to be there initially. So when heavy downpour occurs in very short span of time, that results in flooding of the dams there also, And actually India kahan hai? China is at the upstream, India is at the downstream. So here what happens, when they open all their gates or heavy downpour together, all these things result in huge upsurge of water level. So climate change is actually making it more and more worse. दूसरी चीज क्या है, we are actually encroaching the floodplain. That is the reason. Floodplains को छोड़ दो, like river has a natural, like it's like, you know, you're going on a berth, like for example आपने देखा seat berth, when we travel by train, seat जो होती है, seat जो होती है, that is इतनी बड़ी, and we can easily sleep on that, but we cannot, you can sleep, you cannot have a bed of that size at your home, because you need, you know, whenever you want to expand yourself. So that is the floodplain of a river, where river can expand to its maximum when it is flowing with its maximum capacity. But we are actually, you know, encroaching it. That makes it look more and more, you know, disastrous. That is also one reason. The other thing is, that I have read somewhere that in Assam, they are making the embankments now. At some parts, like in Dibrugarh, they have made embankment, and that is being taken care of. Now what happens, that when the embankments have been made, the volume of water increases. Now when the Brahmaputra, like that water flows right after the, you know, Dibrugarh, the next, you know, the place which comes without embankment, so there will be no protection. Now because the river would be having, due to embankments, the capacity of river would have increased more and more. Now when the huge volume of water comes, that floods the next, you know, area which is there without embankments, and the embankments are also not taken care of properly. So due to political reasons, also due to lack of interest of people, so all these things add up to the severity of floods in your Assam. That is the reason. Shifting from conventional energy sources to renewable energy resource to combat climate change is a great switch, but there are other challenges associated, like leakage of solar panels is definitely, and waste generation from used batteries, which is most efficient energy source. There's a huge debate over it. Initially, they used to say that dams are the hydroelectric power is the most cleanest source of energy. Now they say wind. Actually, it is said that wind is the cleanest source of energy till now, like, because, you know, with the dams we have a lot of catastrophe if there is, you know, some accident, or you know, the other thing is that that can cause flooding of the low lying areas due to dams. The other thing is, you must have heard, because, you know, the reservoir, like there are other harmful impacts of floods about dams, that dams result in a lots of biodiversity in the upstream areas. The other problem, the recent problems that is related to the dams is, guys, it you know, because in the reservoir area where water remains stagnant for a long period of time, that leads to the leakage of methane, formation of methane there, because anaerobic conditions that are being brought there. So looking at the, you know, looking at the, because every thing has pros and cons. So in a long run, if we say, it is said that wind energy is the cleanest source of energy, because it only, like we can say, the problem that has been created by it. One is, if it is in the way of migratory birds, it will kill them. The other thing is, it doesn't look aesthetically beautiful. The other thing is, it causes noise pollution, right? It also affects the aesthetic value. But, you know, if we will see in the long run, that is not a problem. In the long run, we can invest more and more on the wind energy, and I believe by doing proper environment impact assessment, we can, you know, invest in the water hydroelectric power that we're doing. And these days, a lot of research is being doing on, guys, solar energy. Like, you know, just few days back, last year, scientists came up with the idea that we are investing so much in the solar panels. Now it is because solar panels have arsenic. Silicon is being doped with arsenic. You must have heard, but it's a heavy metal. Now we are, because, you know, it's a new technology, and its average lifetime is 25 to 30 years. So we are just accepting, you know, and we are just investing in solar energy without understanding the negative impacts. We can, but a lot of researchers are going by, on the other ways of trapping the heat of sun. We can look out for research, and it is happening in India. We can look out for other ways of heating some liquid and generating electricity out of it using the solar energy. So these can be some good ways which are not having so many negative impacts, and they can help us in fulfilling our power, generation scarcity. Any other question? No? So I think nobody's having any query now. So thank you so much, everyone. So I will stop here. And that's all for today from my side. So now the next series, the next lecture in the series is going to be organized on 26th by Professor Ravindranath. IISc is a retired professor from Indian Institute of Science, IISc, and it is going to be. He also works. His work was on climate change and extreme events. So in the next lecture, he will be talking about the climate change and its impacts. So please join us on 26th. You will get a meeting link one day prior to the talk. So please be there. And guys, because we are going to have eminent professor and scientist with us in the next class, or invited, so it is going to be an invited lecture. So please try to be there before 2:30, because it will not look good if he will have to wait for you guys. So thank you so much. I will stop here. Thank you, everyone. Have a good. Yes, Radhika, you want to ask something?
Yes, ma'am. How is the assessment going to be for the assignments, etc.? Are we going to have any for the course?
Yes. We'll tell you. Don't worry on time. So this time, what would